Hey everyone, Midits here. A while back, when Phase 4 ended, I made a video ranking the Phase 4 movies of the MCU. That was quite a while ago, so hopefully this ranking is a bit more in-depth. We're going to be talking about these films from worst to best, so I hope you enjoy today's video, and let's get straight into this. Right off the bat, let me say there was a fight between the top and bottom two entries of Phase 5. The winner for the worst movie turned out to be Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I honestly can't say which is worse in terms of quality between this film and the next entry, but Quantumania fumbled such an important stepping stone for this saga that Marvel had to change course. Yes, I know what happened with Jonathan Majors. No, I don't think that's the sole reason they course corrected. Kang does come off pretty threatening in this movie, which is an upside until it isn't. Kang being defeated by Ant-Man with zero repercussions is genuinely embarrassing, and none of the Kangs in the mid-credits scene feel nearly as serious as the one in the main story. Quantumania feels like a really long episode of a TV show, and not a particularly consequential episode at that. The central focus at first seems to be the relationship between Scott and Cassie, but that gets lost as we spend more time doing wacky quantum realm shenanigans. Janet is around to explain the quantum realm and have a connection to Kang, but I don't feel like Hank or Hope do much. I've talked about every major character except for one, that being Bill Murray. He's in this movie, I think. It might have been a smart move to just remove MODOK from the film if you're going to do this to him. They decided to make his character Yellow Jacket from the first movie for some reason, and his design is too realistic to be terrifying, but too uncanny to be realistic. Some other characters I need to mention are the ones that don't appear in this movie: Luis, Cassie's mom and stepfather, and another surprising exclusion, considering one of the films coming up soon, Ghost. This movie feels like a TV show that has run for so long that previously important characters just disappear while everyone keeps moving forward like nothing happened. The first two Ant-Man films weren't masterpieces or anything, but this was both disappointing for both the trilogy and the MCU as a whole. Especially with that goofy Kang mid-credits scene Marvel hopes we forget about. Man, I have almost nothing positive to say about this movie. Hopefully, the next movie will be a bit better. Yeah, no. The Marvels didn't cause as much of a disaster as Quantumania, but you can point out a lot of modern Marvel's problems in this film. The movie stars Captain Marvel, a character who was introduced in a TV show, and a character who appeared in the previous movie but got powers in a separate TV show. The plot also seems like it's connected to another TV show until you realize how stupid it is for this show and movie to coexist in the same universe. Making a Captain Marvel 2 was inevitable. The first movie made $1 billion, but I feel like this wasn't the right story to tell. I have no problems with the main cast, but similar to Quantumania, this story feels like a stretched out episode of a TV show. With trust in the MCU kind of beginning to wane in 2023, Marvel needed the movies they were releasing to be consequential to hook people back in, and this was anything but. I had to search the Marvel's villain on Google for this video because I remember nothing about them. As I alluded to, Marvel had no idea what they were doing when it came to Secret Invasion in the Marvels. One of the main plot points in Secret Invasion is that the Skrulls' homeworld was destroyed, and they have received no help from Nick Fury or anyone to find a new place to live. Then, a short time later in the Marvels, there's a Skrull colony living on a planet called Tarnax 4. Do these writers ever talk to each other? How do you mess things up this badly, especially when Nick Fury also appears in the Marvels? The only part about this movie that is relevant is the mid-credits scene, which let me just say that the mid and post-credits scenes should not be the only thing people take away from a movie. Anyway, Monica ends up in a universe that might be the Fox X-Men universe. I'm not going to say anything for certain because the MCU couldn't be as convoluted as the X-Men movies if they tried. Anyway, let's move on to the next film, and once again, I hope this is good. I like Captain America Brave New World less and less the more time passes. It was the first Marvel movie in years that I didn't see right when it came out because I had finally become tired of all the Marvel content that had been coming out. I didn't finish Agatha All Along or What If Season 3, and I didn't even watch Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Daredevil Born Again, or Ironheart. Some of those projects came out after I watched Brave New World, so you can probably tell what effect this movie had on me. This film is genuinely perplexing. You bring back Thunderbolt Ross, turn him into the Red Hulk, bring back the leader from the Incredible Hulk, bring back Betty Ross, and Bruce Banner is nowhere to be seen. That's ignoring how much of a disservice is done to Sam by making him the main character in a glorified Incredible Hulk sequel. The main character, though, should really be in air quotes because he doesn't really have anything interesting going on with his character in this film, and neither does the new Falcon, unfortunately. I don't blame the actors once again, it just feels like the writing did not care about them. The more I think about it, Falcon and the Winter Soldier definitely should have been Captain America 4, and not whatever this is. There are a couple of positives I want to bring up. It's nice that they finally mentioned the Celestial sticking out of the Earth for, I believe, 4 in-universe years. Harrison Ford does a good job as Thaddeus Ross, and it's a shame that I see very little room for his character to appear again. I wonder what they plan on doing now that they've introduced adamantium, although I do feel like Secret Wars might end up making this reveal feel redundant. What else do I need to mention? Sharon Carter, we're probably never going to see her again. The post-credit scene feels like an incredibly vague and lazy way of setting up Doomsday. Did I mention that this is a Hulk movie? Let's move on to the next film, and we're halfway through at this point. Please give me something good. Deadpool and Wolverine makes no sense if you think about the plot for a second, and it is unashamedly a fan service movie. But it's still really fun, which is something I can't say about the previous entries. While Deadpool and Wolverine is connected to Loki, you won't be lost if you don't watch it, but you will be lost regardless. Deadpool goes to 2029 to dig up Wolverine's grave from Logan. He then goes back to present-day 2024 before being captured by the TVA. There, a TVA agent called Mr. Paradox explains that Deadpool's universe will have its destruction accelerated due to the death of Wolverine, whose existence kept the universe together. There's one thing I want to remind you. This movie takes place in 2024. Logan takes place in 2029. So the villain wants to eventually destroy the universe because its anchor being will die soon enough, and Deadpool then goes across the multiverse to find a new Wolverine, and we just collectively ignore the fact that in Deadpool's universe, there's still a Wolverine who is very much alive. To be fair, you have to make some crazy reaches to have Logan taking place in the same universe as either the Deadpool movies or the ending of Days of Future Past make any sense. Anyways, the scene with a bunch of Wolverine variants is very fun, and these moments help make the film feel like we're going through an actual multiverse of madness. Deadpool finds a new Logan in an amazing, more comic-accurate costume from a universe where the rest of the X-Men died. The banter between these two is great, and as you can guess, it's the clear selling point of the movie. Once the two of them are sent to the Void, we get a bunch more cameos. Chris Evans returns as the Human Torch, and while his appearance is mostly played for laughs, Johnny feels a lot more in character compared to, let's say, Reed in Multiverse of Madness. I like how ragtag and almost kind of random the team we get is. There's Blade, who started the pre-MCU Marvel era, X-23, who is connected to Wolverine from the Logan movie, Elektra, who appeared in 2003's Daredevil, then lastly Gambit, played by Channing Tatum, who's set to play the character in a movie that never came out. While I felt we spent more time with Toby and Andrew in No Way Home, these characters do get a decent amount of stuff to do. Also, I haven't had the chance to mention her, but Cassandra Nova is a pretty intimidating villain who left you worried for some of the other heroes besides the main two. I haven't watched the first two Deadpool movies, so the humor didn't feel stale to me. While the film doesn't completely match my style of humor, I thought the jokes were solid, and there wasn't anything I remembered as outright bad. I do want to highlight Channing Tatum's accent, which is easily the most memorable part of the movie for all the right reasons. So while I think a better version of this movie could have been made, I'm happy with what we got. I've gone on long enough about this movie, and there are two more great films to talk about, so let's move forward. I saw Thunderbolts a little bit after it released, due to hearing good things about it, and it single-handedly revitalized my interest in Marvel. We follow 7 characters, never mind Taskmaster's dead, 6 characters who haven't had the best pass. One thing I will say is that Taskmaster doesn't contribute anything to this film, and honestly it would have been fine if she just didn't return. But I can't say the same for most of the rest of the cast. Ghost probably has the least done with her character out of the actual main cast, but she still manages to be pretty likable. For the people who wanted to see Bucky become Captain America, here he gets the chance to fill the leader role of the team, even if he isn't the main character. Also, the Terminator-esque action in the limo chase scene was awesome, and it's been a while since I've remembered action set pieces in a Marvel film, for good reasons. US Agent is a flawed man whose life took a turn for the worse due to the events of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. While he is not a hero at the start of this film, you can't help but root for him and hope that he gets a chance to be greater. Red Guardian is played very comedically, and while his jokes may bother some people, there's been much worse comedy in the MCU in my opinion. Plus, we do get some nice moments between him and Yelena. Speaking of which, Yelena feels different from her previous appearances, but less in an out-of-character way, and it's not like we're learning more about her. But easily my favorite character, not just from this film, but from all of Phase 5, is Sentry. I didn't know much about Sentry, so when Bob first appeared in the movie, I thought he was going to be some annoying character that would spit out witty one-liners, but I quickly realized I was mistaken. We gradually learn more about his past and see that something isn't quite right. Then he dies, but he's immediately revealed to be alive and flies up into the air. We learn about his troubled past before getting powers, how he was experimented on and given his abilities, and let me just say that Lois Pullman knocks it out of the park. Sentry ended up being the emotional core of this movie, and while he wasn't the original choice to play the character, I can't see anyone else doing it as well as he did. This movie made me care for the characters in a way I really haven't in a while for a Marvel movie. One of my major hopes for Doomsday is that these characters don't get overshadowed by the rest of the cast, because this movie feels like classic Marvel. Surprisingly, that wasn't my favorite Phase 5 movie, unless you remember that Guardians 3 exists. The Captain America trilogy was going to be hard to beat as the best MCU trilogy, but Guardians managed to do it in my opinion. The role of the main character kind of shifts in this movie from Star-Lord to Rocket as you go deep into Rocket's backstory. Star-Lord is still very important as he's still struggling with the events of Infinity War and Endgame, where Gamora died, and there's now a version of her around from before they met. After being attacked by Adam Warlock, who was set up at the end of Guardians 2, the rest of the team has to find a way to save Rocket's life. As we learn more about Rocket, we learn about one of the greatest villains in the entire MCU, the High Evolutionary. This dude is terrifying, competent, and most importantly, just plain evil. Now, I've seen people argue that the High Evolutionary's treatment of Rocket and the other modified animals is a lazy way to get people emotional, but what I personally think is that if you're going to deal with a heavy topic such as this, you have to take it completely seriously and not shy away from it, which I believe this film does well. The entire movie feels like it's setting up that some character is going to die, so you would expect the fact that everyone lives to be a bit disappointing, but this movie concludes these characters' stories so well that you can't see it ending any other way, and it just makes you happy seeing all these characters get the endings they deserve. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 goes to show that the MCU didn't need to end after Endgame, it just needs more people who really care. Phase 5 is weird. For all the good, there's equally as much bad. The start of this video compared to the end is genuinely night and day. I have more hope in Marvel now than I did some months ago. Fantastic Four was great, and while I'm worried about a couple of things in Brand New Day, my excitement is outweighing those fears right now. Marvel has now reached an important point where each movie matters on the road to the saga's conclusion. I hope Marvel sticks the landing. I am using 2 hours of my life to watch these movies after all. It definitely will be difficult to do things right, considering how the setup hasn't been the greatest. But at least, while it was sooner rather than later, it finally seems like Marvel has a plan. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out some other content. If you really did, subscribe so I know when future content comes out. That's gonna be it for now, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.